We're joined now by ANC Leader of Opposition in the city of Cape Town, Banele Majingo. A very good evening to you, Mr. Majingo. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Let's just start with the latest situation on the ground. We mentioned the death toll was at 2. Has that risen? Were people injured?
Good evening, Tepiso. Thank you very much to you and the listeners. I listened to the comment by MMC for Human Settlement. For me, I think the reasoning is a little bit shallow because these informal settlements have got years. The issue of in land invasion is recent. It was driven by COVID in 2020. But these informal settlements have got more than 10 years, 20 years. There's a site serviced and developed next to where the fires are. This is the third fire. The first fire, 2 people passed on. The second one, 7 people were perished. And now this is the third one. A family has died again. So the city of Cape Town is not taking the people serious. Because if they had a goodwill, they would have done the top structures in the site where those people that were supposed to be moved to. But they have not done that up until today.
And we know the housing problem is a national problem. So while we're focusing on Cape Town at the moment, human settlements just with regards to housing seems to be in shambles. But I want to talk about, we've been seeing pictures of pieces of land with shacks being built and shacks on them. What is the average number of people who would be on the piece of land like that we saw? I'm just trying to gauge also how close some of these shacks are and if that in itself is not a safety danger.
The area that has been developed there, at least it can have the number of those people who are residing in that informal area. Remember, when you are residing in an informal area, most of the time there are no streets, there are no spaces in between shacks, so you get more than the number required per square meterage. But if those people can be moved to the site which was identified for them around 2018, which is now 6 years down the line and nothing has happened to it, at least you would have managed to do some streets so that at least even if the fire erupts, there is some space to deter the fire because of the shacks are not too close to each other.
So the city's disaster risk management center says they've done assessments, and when they look at the incident at 552 and 152, as I mentioned in the introduction, they're saying the problem is where people are building. Tell us a little bit more about these sites. And what is the role of the city's disaster risk management? Because one would imagine these are foreseen.
The city's disaster management comes after. We must start from the human settlement planning for development. There is no plan for the city for development. Even if you take the stats that has been released recently, now it's going to catch the city. Already the city was lagging behind. There's a huge backlog of human settlement. In the city of Cape Town, you've got about 464 informal settlements. And that talks to quite a big number of households. Now, if you are going to take the area that we are talking about, the land is lying there, is serviced, nothing is happening to it. And the people that have got their shacks bent, they are sleeping on site because nobody can look after their material. They must sleep there. They are not sleeping in the hall. They might have received something to eat, but the situation they're living under is so bad.
So you're in opposition there in the Western Cape. What are your proposals on how to deal with the situation? And I ask this in mind, having said that, the housing problem is a national problem. Therefore, the ANC government itself has to answer to some of the failures that exist nationally.
I agree that the human settlement is a challenge everywhere, but the city of Cape Town is not willing to do what it should be doing. Even when it's given grant, it does not spend those monies to assist these informal areas. It returns the money to Treasury whilst it's having problems. So that on its own, it tells you that they are not willing. Land might not be an issue if the city can move with speed. You see, when we are not doing the planning, people are going to do things that you should have had you planned, we're going to follow you. Even if it means you service the site, you bring people in. You service the site, you bring people in. Well, if you are going to wait for yourself to build, those pieces of land that you service might be occupied by other people. So you can build while people are residing in their own plot. In that fashion, you can also resolve the problem of some beneficiaries disappearing from the list, because that becomes another problem.
So there is corruption when it comes to some of these human settlements, particularly low-cost housing. We've seen reports of it happened across the provinces, of people actually selling municipal land who actually don't have the authority to. So in the long term, I'm just wondering, what is the solution? South Africa has some of the worst informal settlement households on the continent. I say that having seen quite a number of countries and their informal settlements. So what is the long-term plan? Does government know how much land it owns, and also how is it apportioning it to deal with the human settlement issue?
To deal with the issue of human settlement, we've got to do integrated planning where all the components are involved. For instance, if you're talking about urban planning, land management, your mobility, those components that will be affected when you design a new settlement area, you need to involve them. Because at the moment, that thing is not happening. Because at the end of the day, we need to make sure that the open spaces, even if we've got other parastatals that are assisting us, where we've got to find a piece of land, we must work together so that we don't use that, play politics with it. Agree that this land is available, belongs to the province, belongs to the city, or belongs to national. Agree that we are going to move the people who are residing in area A to that area. Because even if you talk about temporary residential areas that have got 15 plus years, that they are temporary.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us about that issue of human settlements in the Western Cape. Banele Majingo of the ANC.